Well, my wife has sort of made the conscious decision to not really drink anymore. Like, I don't want to say she's quit drinking altogether because if we're at, a special occasion or something, she might still have a bottle of wine or whatever. Or not a bottle of wine. That's
She might occasionally down a bottle of wine.
yeah. She
Just one
occasionally
giant
joins the
bottle.
Century Club, but no.
Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone, I'm like, them.
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart, but sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Go.
But therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know?
So Keegan Sutherland says, I've been listening to the show since the start and have loved every episode. You guys are definitely getting funnier every week. Well, if you're going to butter us up like that, chances are fairly good we'll read it. My question is, what do you do to stay fit and what outdoor activities do you love to do? Thank you for answering.
So, I don't stay that fit.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not all that fit, frankly. However, I'm outside a lot, so actually, I can kind of answer this. And if I remember, I could probably even take pictures as photo evidence of this. But me and my kids are outside all the time. Like my kids don't want to be inside, and I think that's fairly common for kids. But I love to be outside too. Like we've talked about this on the podcast before. I'm not a fan of Jake like just sitting and playing video games and stuff. I'd much rather him being outside kicking around a ball or whatever. And thus I've made my outdoors like a very desirable place to be. Like I have a big stereo receiver and all this stuff in my garage with giant like almost like concert quality speakers out there. I've also taken two I don't know, probably yay big speakers and ran them through my receiver, and I've actually mounted them underneath the overhang in the backyard. So I have stereo quality speakers underneath my overhang in my backyard, and I have a bar in my backyard. It's an actual bar.
Did you get the TV yet?
So drinking alcohol and listening to music, is that your exercise
Well,
routine?
no. All I was saying was that the speakers are mounted like sort of over the bar. So my backyard is like a place where the kids have all their ride-on toys, like their Power Wheels, four-wheelers and stuff like that. They tear around that backyard like crazy all day long. So that doesn't help me keeping fit, but while they're doing that, I'll be swinging a golf club or, whatever. I try to get Jake to play catch with me with his baseball mitt and stuff like that. So that's not really an exercise that's going to keep me in shape, but we're outside all the, when you talk about outdoor activities, we're outside all the time. When it's warm, it snowed here yesterday, for crying out loud.
See, I'm on my feet a lot because of the nature of what I do at the job. So that, helps me not to be too sedentary. And then the fire department, whenever I take classes with the fire department, they're usually physical involved. So I don't exercise though like I should. I keep telling myself I'm gonna, and then I have a beer instead. Yeah. And that usually doesn't mix.
I can relate to that for sure.
So I don't really exercise, but the way I keep fit is just by eating less, I guess. I don't drink any soda.
I don't either.
Most of the time.
I
don't eat any breakfast. Almost only have coffee for breakfast usually.
That's
I
actually
eat
kind of
school
bad.
lunches. So what?
I was going to say that's not like bad for you, but you're actually to stay healthier. You're supposed to eat some form of.
See, I don't really believe that. Like, cause like
I don't believe in those doctors and scientists who've done the studies. Those guys are wrong.
No, I've heard that before too, but a lot of scientific studies says it doesn't matter exactly what you eat or when you eat it. It's the amount of calories that you consume in a day, and I mean, it collects the exact same amount. If you
Well,
eat
that's
3,000 calories in one
that's
meal,
not entirely
and then
it's not entirely true because for one, trying to think about this from a medical standpoint, if you eat 3,000 calories in one meal and that's the only meal you eat a day, your body doesn't burn those 3,000 calories before it goes to store them and deposit them. You want to eat, that's why they tell you to eat smaller amounts throughout the day because your body burns the rate and nothing gets stored.
well, wait,
I've
I
never
mean,
personally read or done the study, so I couldn't tell you 100% for certain. I'm just saying that what I know about it, as well as the fact that if you don't kickstart your metabolism in the morning, you're not burning as much throughout the day. So there is a difference with, like, if you go to sleep, if you ate 3,000 calories and went to sleep, your body, your metabolism slows down, then your body starts storing that as opposed to burning it.
Well, have also heard studies that said that sitting down and watching TV while you're awake burns less calories than when you're sleeping.
Like if I sit
So,
down
I
and watch
mean,
TV while I'm
so
sleeping, I burn more calories.
yeah.
So if I take a
So,
nap when I'm watching my evening shows, I'll burn more calories as opposed to.
well, I mean, what I'm saying is, if I mean, we want to talk about like this burning calories and then storing it, and it's harder to take the stored energy and turn it into burned calories. I don't know. I think like if you eat a meal and you store 10% of that as, let's say, storage, and then you eat, you do this for 5 meals, then those 10% all add up, just like if you eat all the meals, all the calories at once, and you store that 10% of that meal into storage.
Why do you think you store 10% of every meal you eat?
Well, I'm not saying, I'm just giving a
If I
random
was emaciated
percentage.
and starved and ate a cracker, I'm not storing 10% of that cracker for later use. The body's going to be like, "Oh, energy, use it."
Right.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think you use about 2/3 of the calories in a day, just being awake and moving around and being like without actual doing any extra physical activity. I mean,
How
I
much
don't
do
think
you
it's
burn podcasting? That's what I want to know.
Depends on how much we're thinking. So probably
well, it
us not
depends also
much.
the length.
It's
The
very
length.
little.
Bare
Plus,
minimum.
I'm doing squats the whole time. It's a little hard to tell, but I'm
I've got
really actually just going
yeah.
up and
I've
down.
actually got my GoPro mounted so you can't see that I'm actually moving the entire time, you know? It's
You
like a
just-
magic trick. I look stationary, but really the Empire State Building just disappeared. Like I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I've been masturbating this whole recording, so
I mean, we could tell that though. It's pretty
there's
obvious.
kind of shaky.
Yeah.
Apologize.
Mike, where do you wear a sock? I wear mine on my feet.
So, do you guys? Speaking of which, you just brought up the Empire State Building disappearing. Do you guys watch? Like, you guys like magic and card tricks and things like that?
Sure.
If they're done well, yeah.
In the days of the internet, are you like me and have basically spoiled every card trick imaginable because all you do is go watch YouTube for card tricks revealed?
I actually have never done that.
I don't suggest you start because it does ruin some things. However, it gives you a huge appreciation for, because I don't think you guys, maybe I'm wrong, I don't think you guys really believe that magic is real. It's all like misdirection, sleight of hand, this,
Right.
that, the other. Some of the
I think it
tricks.
has something to do with ponies.
I heard it was unicorns. So some of the tricks, though, even watching how they're not the ones that involve false shuffles and this and that, because those ones are you just need to learn how to do false shuffles. Just the straight up math that goes into making these card tricks work. Some of them I watched it's revealed. This is how it's done, and I'm still like, how the hell is that done? Like. I think it'll give you, it'll ruin some things for you, but then give you a newfound appreciation for others. Like card tricks, I think, are one of those things that, even if you know how it's done, it still can be amazing. Whereas true street magic, that stuff I think is more, it ruins it when you know, like what it is.
Well, I don't know if it really ruins it for me because I mean, like you said, we don't really believe in magic, so we know it's all fake. We just don't know how it's done. So it's not like I'm expecting, wow, David Blaine can levitate. That's incredible.
No,
Like,
but
that's
once
not
you
what I'm doing, I know it's a trick.
isn't part of it the wonder though that you just walk away and you're like, how the hell did they do that? Like,
Right.
isn't that part of what intrigues, it makes the magic intriguing?
I don't know. No, not for me. Because I know it's a
Good.
trick, like I said. So for me, it's like watching a good actor in a movie. Like I can't do that, so I'm impressed by it. but it's not. There's no wonder involved. I don't think.
Well, I mean, I don't think you wonder as in like, wow, that was magical. I think it's like, can I figure out how? Like, whenever I see a magic trick, I always think to myself, like, I wonder how that was done. Oh, I bet you he probably did this or did that, or maybe he did this. But I mean, I still always think that being able to pull a magic trick successfully enough to not know exactly what he probably or she did probably did right away is, something takes a lot of talent. It's a lot of skill. I don't know if it's a good use of talent or skill, but it's still
Okay, I guess I misspoke when I said street magic, because anything you see live I think is pretty amazing if done well, because that's when you're just like, whoa, like right in front of me they did that. I was more talking about the TV shows where you watch
TV
like
shows, I don't really care.
David Blaine's TV show, Chris Angel like levitating in the middle of a freaking dome, or even David Copperfield making things disappear. When I learned how some of that stuff was done, and that it's camera work and editing,
Right.
and cameras on stationary things, so you move it and you guys didn't even realize because it's such a smooth transition. Then I'm just like, oh, okay. Now I just feel cheated because that's a blatant lie of what you did. It's not even
Right. Yeah. TV magic has never done anything for me because I've always suspected there was more to it.
I do like Penn and Teller, like where they sort of do like the anti-magic, where it is magic tricks, but
they show
not
you how
meant
it's
to
done
be-
in still a funny, comedic, magical way.
Yeah,
I watched
like
the
that.
one where he did with the balls and the cup and this, that, the other day with the aluminum balls, and he was like, "No, nobody would tell you how a magic trick is done, so we're going to tell you how it's done. Nobody would do a magic trick twice, so we're about to show you again. And nobody would do this with see-through cups but we're going to do it that way." And then it shows you exactly how it's done, and you're still like,
I still don't know what's going on. And he stole my watch. What the hell?
yeah, I like
Right.
that. I want to learn how to do card tricks. Like, I sit there and watch videos all the time, and I seriously, every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to follow along. Where's my deck of cards? Oh, I'll get one later. And then I never go get one.
Well,
I actually
you know
do
what
a
I
couple
always-
card tricks.
What I always watch on YouTube is how to do like bar tricks, and they're not necessarily magic tricks. They're like, oh, how can you solve this puzzle or whatever? And I always think that's really cool. And then, when you get to a bar, you're like, yeah, I would never do this in real life. Like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I want to go to the bar and do it. But when you get to the bar, you're like, yeah, nobody's gonna be impressed. Nobody's gonna care. Yeah, can I have a couple matches? And I want to move these pieces along. Bet you I can bet you $1. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here.
I feel like there's this whole okay, so when we were younger and we're going to bars together, like it was just because we were younger and we liked to party and drink, and a bar is a good place to facilitate that sort of behavior. But we were never that guy. And like even more the older I get, like if I think about going to the bar and doing something like that, like it's like like you said, it's such a weird thing. And then I start to look at like my sister, who is 33 at this point, and has worked in bars like all her life and is still very much part of that bar scene. She's not married, doesn't have kids, and that's just how they exist. And then thanks to Facebook, I have this sort of, half-hearted relationship with several people that I went to high school with, who are also part of this bar scene. And it's such a weird thing. Like, I don't understand the appeal to that at age 35. Like, I think when we were hanging out and doing our thing, and don't get me wrong, you all have seen this podcast before, most of you, and I drink beer while I'm doing it. Like, I'll still have a beer every now and then. But I don't think the three of us were ever, legitimately involved in that scene. And it's a whole weird sort of, I don't know, subculture of civilization that I just don't fully understand.
What scene exactly are you describing? Because I was definitely very well known as a regular at multiple bars when I was younger.
So was I, and I would argue me more so than you. I was
Yeah, you were definitely.
I mean, definitely at the Red Ribbon for sure, but I definitely ventured out of that place too. I had a lot of other kind of watering holes that I would go to. But I just feel like watching these people who are just sort of totally comfortable as being older people existing like in this bar lifestyle where they're constantly, still going to bars all the time and like that's just sort of their niche. Like this they have this bar family of just, people who are always there.
Like Larry.
Well,
yeah,
right.
Larry was such a weird guy. I don't have a great read on Larry. Nobody ever got much out of Larry, he knew how to do that
the
bar
ring toss game.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
That was all we knew about Larry.
Well, okay. I mean, you could criticize someone being older, just going to the bar, and he's just a barfly or whatever, like a Barney. What? Or you just don't understand that scene. But my wife used to work at a casino in the UK, and she would say like you would have regulars, and like regulars as in they would line up to go into the casino. And this is not a big casino. Like there's a lot of smaller casinos in the UK, and they would just line up, wait for the doors to open, use the slot machines until they close, and they get kicked out, and then they'll come and line up the next day, and that's what they do with their whole life. They just spend all their money, and I don't get gambling, but like I could understand there's gambling addictions and there's alcoholic addictions, but yeah, I don't see the appeal of any of it, and
I enjoyed I had many good when I was a regular at the bars. Why I was a regular there is because it was a good place to go with friends for conversation, grab a beer, and especially when you get to know like really cool waitresses, waiters, like the people that worked there. Like we got to know the owners, but players like very well. This guy used to come out with me all the time. The guy who worked the door used to just come and sit at our table with us until like customers came they had to do something with. Just because we became like a little like group of friends. We played softball with some of the people from there. Granted, I had a real full-time job. I wasn't there from morning until night, but I was there pretty much every single night grabbing a couple beers and talking to people. But I was also single. I didn't have, I wasn't in a relationship with anybody. Obviously the definition of single. I didn't really have anything else that I was working toward. It was just kind of like that was my stagnation, but I was enjoying it while it was there.
Right.
I understand that. The part I don't get, and maybe you guys don't see a lot of this on your Facebook feeds or whatever, but there's legitimate couples that I see who, don't have kids still at this point, or I guess
maybe they do have kids.
Well, no, there's definitely some on my Facebook feed who are constantly looking for babysitters because they need to go to a bar. I mean, and that's kind of
kids.
They still to go move to northern Michigan where we see the babies in the bar.
But yeah, but I'm more talking about couples who are just like they're so just wrapped up in hanging out at bars. For me, bars were like the sort of means to an end. Like, you go hang out and meet chicks and have fun and whatever it was, what it was.
But if it's the place where you socialize, like this is the place where you go to socialize, and you don't have a new place like, the playground park where your kids play, or
right.
The PTA after the PTA meeting, then the place that where you could go socialize is the bar, right?
Right. Yeah. Maybe my vision is skewed because we have, I have these two little things running around me at all times who limit anything I can do in life.
See, I'm more changed because the bar scene out here sucks. Like it's crowded, it's expensive, it's it's not the same social culture that I had back in Michigan. It's more uptight, high society people who think they're better than everybody and are there on their business meetings. Bar scene is huge in DC. It's like happy hour is where most of government decisions are made. There's no question about that. But
that's
just a different.
Bad to know.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think too, maybe it is more sort of heavily weighed on just me having kids, because I know I've talked about this on a podcast before that amongst dads, like home bars are such a huge thing right now. Almost every dad like I know and hang out with has like some form of home
And
bar.
I so would too if I had my own place. And you make me really jealous when you're talking about like your backyard. You can't even get a
Right.
freaking backyard out here in DC. So it's I'm
Oh,
like,
my backyard's
oh.
awesome as far as dad backyards go because it's totally fenced in. Most of it's privacy fence. I even have like swinging gates where I can lock so the kids can't escape. You know, they're trapped in the backyard. And like I said, they tool around in their four wheelers. I got, I can rock out to whatever kind of music I want, and it's great.
Now, let me ask you this though, because and not judging at all, but so I always associated drinking with scene. So I would go to the bars because that's where I was socialized, and I would drink alcohol.
Hmm.
But then I would go home and I wouldn't drink alcohol, and I still am that way now. Because like even when I was in Korea, I used to go out and drink a lot because I used to go out with my coworkers and my friends, and we would drink and party all the time.
Hmm.
But now, I stay at home most of the time with my wife, and my wife doesn't drink. So then I don't drink because I don't drink just to drink by myself
Hmm.
most of the time. I mean, maybe in the rare occasion I will like have a beer or something like that by myself. But so like having a home bar for me would be just pointless unless I'm inviting tons of people over to go drink, and that's what
Um,
you might do. But
well, I was going to say it's not even tons of people. Like, I mean, my neighbor on the one side of me has two kids, so when I say I have a bar in my backyard, it's not like I sit out there and watch the kids run around and I'm doing shots of tequila. Like, you
It's not
know,
like he hires a bartender like, who's there at all
right?
times.
you have your
Exactly.
kids lining up for you, so you
So, I really like the taste of beer. So, when
right,
I'm sitting back there watching them, I might sit at my bar and, drink a beer or two. It's not like
right.
I'm sitting out there, slamming beers or anything like that. But by the same token, it's like if my neighbor is outside, and I invite him over and our kids run around the yard together, well, guess what? I have a bar there. We can have a drink while we're talking and kids are
And
playing.
socializing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, take away the whole, it's just a room full of random strangers where we're drinking, we're socializing and our kids are bonding and, that sort of thing.
Right. I mean, we had a friend that used to drink alcohol. I think it developed into basically a problem later on in life or earlier in life. But he would. I remember when he told me like I would go home and drink like 3 or 4 beers. And I'm just thinking, by yourself in your room? What's the point? Like, usually use alcohol to loosen my gears or whatever, and we could talk and socialize and maybe have a little bit more fun doing what you're doing. But
Hmm.
like, if it's almost like when you drink alcohol and you don't stand up, you don't realize how drunk you are. So
Right.
it's sort of like if you're drinking by yourself, you're not. For me at least, there's no real enjoyment. It's like, you know, there's very little effect.
Well, and it's actually kind of funny that you bring this up because um, my wife used to drink wine on, less, I don't want to say, make her sound like an alcoholic. Like it wasn't like a semi-regular basis or anything
See
like
the
that. But
Buddha.
yeah, if we were just hanging out, especially in the summertime when we're hanging out in the backyard, at my bar, and she's out there, and I'm drinking a beer, she'll have a glass of wine. Like it was that sort of thing. Well, my
Right.
wife is sort of made the conscious decision to not really drink anymore. Like I don't want to say she's quit drinking altogether because if we're at, a special occasion or something, she might still have a bottle of wine or whatever. Or not a bottle of wine. That's
She might occasionally down a bottle of wine.
yeah, yeah. She
Just one
occasionally
giant
joins the
bottle.
Century Club, but no, she might have a glass of wine or something at a social gathering or whatever. So it's not as strict. I'm not going to drink anymore, but it's just sort of that situation. I have found since she's done that, I have drank less beer because it's just sort of if we're both hanging out in the backyard and she has a glass of wine, I'm going to have a beer. It's
Right.
that
So
sort of
she's
thing.
not
Well, if she
naked.
doesn't have that glass of wine, then I don't. And it's not just that like I would feel bad drinking a bottle of beer in front of her because it is what it is. But it's just that I don't really think about it.
Well,
So,
same thing in Michigan though. Like when we started smoking, like I mean, I'm actually saying when us as a group of people, I think Mike, you started smoking before us, but like Jeff would
of
start
course.
smoking, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go out for a smoke. Then I was like, oh, well, then I'll go out for a smoke. And then anytime anybody thought, hey, let's go out for a smoke, everyone would
Everybody goes
smoke.
right.
And
Yep.
then you're smoking like 3 times as much. Like when I went to the bar with you guys, I would go through like a pack of smokes that night, and then be like the rest of the work week with 1 pack of cigarettes, and then go out to the bar, and then it's all gone.
Well, and if you were coming outside with me, I smoked a lot back then. I probably I would say like at my peak when I was I don't know 21, 22, 23, maybe somewhere in there. I was smoking 2.5 packs a day.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you also used to be able to smoke in the bars.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And again, I was at the bar every
Yeah.
single night. So, and when you're drinking, you just smoke more. So,
It's so funny the whole smoking ban in bars. I've heard pretty much everybody, even like smokers, even say the same thing, and they pretty much say, "At first, I was against it because I didn't want to have to go outside, and now I like it, and I'm still a smoker. Like I'm not a smoker anymore, but I was the same way too. At first, I was like, they're taking away my right to smoke inside, and then I was
Right.
like, you know what? I actually like going to the bar and not just smelling like smoke, even if I am a smoker. Like."
right, right. And, for me, as someone who hasn't smoked in, geez, I guess it's
Too
been like
many years.
7 years now. It's been a
Wow.
long time now. Yeah, quite a while. Because our anniversary's coming up, and I
Ours?
remember, like, we quit. Well, when we went on our honeymoon in Hawaii, and that's like a non-smoking state, so it's super duper hard to find
Right.
places to smoke. And we had so much stuff lined up on our honeymoon anyway that I wasn't really thinking about smoking to begin with. Couple that with it's hard to find spots to smoke anyway, and I'm always on the
Scuba
go going
diving
from
and
one thing to
smoking.
another. Next thing I knew, it was like a week had gone by and I hadn't smoked, and I'm like, well, if it's been a week, they say 3 days is like the chemical addiction part, so that was when I just quit. So with our anniversary coming up at the end of May, I think this is our 7 year. I'll get in more trouble for that for sure. I think it's
Booze
7 years.
hounding.
I think it's 7 years. So, but I wanted to bring up too another interesting thing Jeff brought up about how the bar is sort of this, the social aspect of drinking in bars. I think that was Jeff who brought that up, or maybe it was Mark, and how he doesn't drink at home because there's not the social aspect of it. When you are a father to young children, that sort of is a social outreach because
Wait.
when you meet people in the neighborhood and
That's
say,
children.
I'm trapped at my house with small children. I can't leave because someone has to be there to nurture them. If you want to watch a baseball game and drink a beer, you can come to my garage because I have a
Right.
TV out there. I have the audio is piped through a stereo system that goes to my front and backyard. That
Probably
sort of.
why the bar at home is becoming very popular.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I can't leave, but I can bring people to me by hosting sporting events in my garage and that sort of thing. So I think that's part of it too.
I would agree. I don't have small children, but I agree with what you're saying.
Good
That
times.
he knows of.
That I know of.
All right. Well, hey guys, I have this is episode number 40. 40 is a big number. I don't know if you know that.
It's a little bit bigger than 39, a little bit less big than 41.
Correct.
A little smaller than a billion.
Slightly smaller than a billion.
Well, I would make the argument it's way smaller than a billion.
Well, you can make that argument all you want. Now let's see the defense.
All right. So, number facts about 40. It's the atomic number of zirconium. That's kind of weird. All right. -40 is the unique temperature at which Fahrenheit and Celsius scales correspond.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's an important number, right?
It doesn't really mean anything to me, though. Like, I've been living in a place with Celsius, and that means nothing to me.
Has it?
Like,
It's never been -40 where you live, so you're like, I know it's Celsius and Fahrenheit right now.
well, I mean, like,
I
basically,
feel like
you got like 0 to 100 in Fahrenheit. That's from cold to hot, right? Like pretty cold, like cold, and hot. When Celsius, it's either hey, it's cold to like you're dead.
It's water freezing to water boiling. I mean,
yeah,
I like the Celsius scale.
but it's like 23 to 28 is like this like scale that we basically use. It's similar to like 100 to and 0 for Fahrenheit. Like it's just like a small bit.
so. 40 in religion is a super huge number. In the Hebrew Bible for Judaism, 40 is used many, many times to describe time periods, 40 days or 40 years or 40 nights.
Yeah, that's true.
In Christianity, 40 days was the time period from the resurrection of Jesus to the ascension.
I should know that.
Yeah, you probably should, actually. In Islam, Muhammad was 40 years old when he first received the revelation delivered by the Archangel Gabriel. Actually, in Islam, there's tons of religious facts about the number 40. And I'm not going to read all of them, but in Hinduism, I can't pronounce a lot of those words, so I'm not going to. So, there's actually several religions that use 40. If you want to, you can look that up, I guess. Let me see.
Yeah, a lot of religions uses numbers for religious meanings.
The 40-yard dash is an important measure in sports. They use it in
How so?
a lot of sports to figure out how fast you are. Major League Baseball, between the Major League and minor league contracts, is allowed to have 40 players. There's been a lot of retired numbers in sports of 40, and there's actually some pretty substantial people. Pat Tillman, probably in the news, a handful of years ago for the Arizona Cardinals. He was.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I know, like they retire numbers in like a lot of sports.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when they retire like enough where it becomes an issue? Will they just go into the 100s? Like, this is player 305.
Well, you know what's funny is I've often wondered what they're going to do in that situation too. To my knowledge, we've never actually came to that situation before. But I think of teams like the Yankees who have been around forever, and retired all these numbers. Like, you're right. At some point, they're going to run out of numbers.
Well, football's going to be worse because if you retire enough quarterbacks numbers on a team, you only got 10 spots for those, 9 spots for those in theory.
And looking at this list, the NFL just happened to be the first one I brought up, but there's actually more people in the NFL than any other sports with their numbers retired. But Pat Tillman was the one I brought up because, like I said, I think he was probably most recently in the news a handful of years ago for being the Arizona Cardinals player that joined the military for he enlisted to go to war in Afghanistan and then was killed by friendly fire.
So that's why they retired it?
Yes. Yep.
Can you unretire a number? Like,
what's that?
Would that make you look like a heel if you unretired a number? Like, oh, we're running out of numbers. You take this guy. He died in Afghanistan fighting for your country, but you need a number, so.
Right. I don't think anybody would ever do that.
It's gonna happen. Remember the coach of that one basketball team that turned out to be a big racist dude relatively recently.
But you wouldn't want that number anyways.
No,
that's
but I'm saying
number.
if a situation like that ever were to happen and they retired somebody's number who then becomes like this big head coach who then gets in the news for doing something stupid like that, they're probably going to be like, so his number's coming off the wall.
Yeah, they could do that, but like Mark said, I don't think there'd be a mad dash for someone to take on that number.
Oh, I want it. I want that guy's number.
For sports fans, this is an important name. Gale Sayers, running back for the Bears. His number
The Bears.
was for us from Michigan. Bill Lambier's number was retired by the Pistons, 40. Let me see. So I have to apologize. Usually I have these broken off into a separate file where I can just look at them, but I'm kind of flying blind here.
Oh, no, I think that's 2 weeks in a row you're apologizing for that. Can't even get your stuff together from one week to the next.
So...
Not that we record these all together or anything like that.
Yeah, it's not like we do marathon recording sessions. So 40 winks is a short sleep in the popular expression.
Right.
40 was the highest number ever counted to on Sesame Street.
Like,
Really?
Apparently.
I got to talk to that count.
Can you imagine watching an episode of Sesame Street though, where they're like, 1, 2,
Goes all the way to
all
40.
the way up to 40?
That's gonna be the easiest programming day, though. Like, okay, so what do we got scheduled today? Okay, the count's gonna count to 40, and we're done.
And we're done. We'll do a couple of commercials in there.
It is the most common number that radio programs count to for weekly countdowns.
Oh, top 40.
Yeah. Wow. It's the number of spaces in a standard Monopoly game board.
Ooh.
There you go. I'm going to throw this out there. It's not very specific. I'd have to look into it more. But the American-Japanese hard rock band Crush 40 was featured in Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog franchise.
Okay.
I don't know if that means it was like the theme music, but if it is, that's an interesting little tidbit.
Music, would it? I guess they must have, like, unless that band had like a song and they just turned it to MIDI form for the...
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying, because I hate to say that they did the title song because I don't know. I would have to look into it more. But it says it was featured in Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog franchise with guitarist Jun Seno and vocalist Johnny Giglio, or Gili, or Gioeli. But there was definitely no vocals in any of the Sonic Hedgehog, music.
Oh, Jeff, I want to ask you a trivia question. Mike, you could answer if you know as well. Do you know why Sonic is fast?
Because he's
The
a
hedgehog?
hedgehog? Do I know why he's fast?
Faster than the speed of sound.
He's not faster than the speed of sound.
Oh.
But I'm asking, do you know why he is fast?
Like, what made him fast? Like, is it
Someone
like a
created
mutant thing?
Yeah, like what causes him to be going so fast?
I have absolutely no idea.
His planet has more gravity.
The answer is his shoes. It's the stupidest trivia fact that I know about Sonic the Hedgehog. But
Why do you know
technically,
any trivia
his
facts?
shoes is what's causing him to go fast. So I don't know exactly if somebody else wore his shoes, if they would go fast. But originally, that was like the reason why he's such a fast
The
hedgehog.
story behind Sonic is the fact that he has fast shoes.
Yes.
Why was I not allowed to be in on this? That's what I want to know.
I just thought Jeff might have known, but
Hey,
I don't
you
know
think
why.
I'm an idiot? Is that what you're saying, Mark?
I'm just saying that you probably didn't play Sonic as much as we did.
I played Sonic like it was my job.
I didn't own a Sega, so I didn't play Sonic
thought-
at all.
So
Well, you owned a
clearly I played
Nintendo
Sonic
and the
way-
trackpad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I had a Sega and I played
I
a
didn't
lot.
know you back then, Mike.
You know what? You need to stop judging people prematurely. So, anyways, back to the number 40. Because
think
now
we-
I'm disgusted. with Mark.
Is there good ones? Because I think we've given enough facts about the number 40 for...
Well, I feel like there's a few more that are kind of interesting.
All right. Hit me.
Well, as the number of thieves that Alibaba had, it is...
Yeah, that's,
It was made, well, a 40-ounce bottle of malt liquor referenced in the song 40 Ounces to Freedom by Sublime.
now that's a good fact.
There you go. There you go. All right, this is the last one. 40 is the only integer whose English name has its letters in alphabetical order.
Interesting.
There you go. There's the number 40.
All right, guys. 40
That was
facts.
40.
Facts about 40.
By the way, is anyone else surprised that we've made 40 episodes of this thing?
I mean, people have probably only listened to like 2 of them, so to them it's like brand new.
So for those of you who have heard 2 episodes, go seek out the other 38. Well, actually, there's been more than that because we had like 0.5s and stuff at Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, that's right, we did.
Oh yes.
We put out some extra ones
For New Year's, or I know there were some 0.5s in there somewhere.
But yeah, check it out, guys. WDWKpodcast.com, YouTube.com/WDWKpodcast, Facebook.com/What Do We Know, and
That may not be
Twitter.com.
factually correct.
That is factually correct. I keep telling you that.
Oh, okay.
Facebook's the only one that's different. Like it's
Okay.
confusing. You can go to Facebook.com.
WDWKpodcast@gmail.com.
You can go to Facebook.com and check out WDWK Podcast, but it's like I said, it's Harry Johnson.
I was gonna... No, that's not true.
Oh my God! Didn't we argue this last time? It's the
I
exact
thought
same
so,
thing.
but it's not right. You're not
I'll
right.
say.
So
Harry Johnson, Facebook.com/WDWK Podcast. Looking at it right now.
all right. So I initially made it under that one, but I remade it. So you're looking at the old one.
It's WDWK Podcast.
Hold on. Hold on. Where do I even find this? I don't know where I find my address.
Okay, I'll check as well, and then
Hold on,
we'll
I'm
all
putting it up.
laugh
I'm putting it up
at
there.
one
for
of you.
Everyone
One of you will
to
be
see.
very wrong.
For everyone to see right now.
Okay, well I think my computer just crashed on me. That's excellent.
There, everybody can see. It just covered my
Facebook.com
space.
What do we know? Or
/
slash what do we know?
WDWK Podcast.
No, that's the wrong one, buddy.
Yes, I know that's the wrong one.
It's slash. What? I don't know what you're saying.
The whole thing is, it's Facebook.com/What Do We Know is how you get to us, which is different convention than every other thing we have is, because WDWK Podcast takes you to Harry Johnson.
I got you now. All right. So
People should never forget that. Harry Johnson is not.
Facebook.com/What Do We Know in that case. For sure.
Yep, Facebook.com/What Do We Know.
That's really funny.
All right, guys. See you next week.
See you later.
Take care. Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone. I'm like,
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart. But sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
Go.
Therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know?